Hi guys, how are you? Hi Ronald, how are you?
How are you?
I am so glad that you're doing this interview for me today. By popular demand, so many people wanted me to bring you back on the show. I mean, they just really appreciate what you're doing. Why am I getting an echo? Okay. They really appreciate what you're doing. So, so also too, you guys, I schedule it during the same time as the show because I had a very busy schedule today. So most of you are going to watch this on the replay, but I'm just impressed by how many people are in the room. Okay, so you left a message with me this morning, Ronald, saying that you filed a First Amendment complaint. Can you tell us what that is and what that entails?
Yeah, it hasn't been filed yet. Are you getting an echo?
I think I am. Hold on.
Because if you want, I could try to get headphones if that's causing a problem on your
end.
I
think it was my speaker. I apologize.
Oh, good. Okay. So you're fine now?
We're fine.
Okay, wonderful. All right. We haven't filed the First Amendment complaint, but it's going to be filed shortly. But certainly it's the first time I've discussed it is on your show, nowhere else. But basically, we've been able to finally piece together how Erika Girardi spent over $25 million. It's not just a theory anymore. So now I've sort of drilled down to where there's only one road and it all leads to Erika Girardi.
Wow, that's huge. Absolutely huge. Now, when you first started coming on my show, this is before you even got hired to work with the team to find the assets. You said that your main reason for keeping it all on Twitter, a record on Twitter, and saying it in layman's terms where regular people can understand is because you wanted to expose corruption. The public has responded overwhelmingly. They thank you for that. I don't think there's anyone else that is explaining it in a way that we understand it. And as a whole, the public sentiment is they're kind of outraged by Tom and Erika's allegations. I'll put it that way. They don't trust them. They feel there's no sympathy for the public. They just don't trust him. So yesterday it was announced that Tom was going into a retirement home. As a whole, people don't believe it. So we want to know if you can answer this question. Did you know he was going to move into a retirement home? Who's paying for it? And what happened to their house?
Okay, so let's go over a couple of those things. First, to clarify, I wanted to expose crooked lawyers that are corrupt, not general like political corruption. So we're clear. Secondly, there was no notice whatsoever that Tom was leaving his property to go into a residence. I don't want to talk about for certain reasons about his house at all, but I could just tell you that I've been a big proponent of anytime just generally you show houses, why do you want some old guy living in the house? So I'm just saying I'm not unhappy if he leaves. I've also made it clear that if he actually moved into a senior assisted living house, with a bunch of old people, and he was on a floor with 6 other residents, I would believe him that he has dementia. However, we became suspicious when I saw the scripted release from the Daily Mail, because as I've said this repeatedly, if you don't want to be photographed by the press, it's very easy to leave your residence and go places and they're not going to photograph you. So why all of a sudden do they see Tom, basically posing for the cameras at this place? But in any event, I said I was going to investigate it, and I sent people over there today, investigators, and he's not there. First of all, the rent's $9,500 a month. It's a month to month. You can come and go when you want. There's no evidence he's there. So I don't know what to say. I think this is just part of the, scam that's going on with him. like to just create sympathy.
Oh my gosh, this is huge. They seem to really want the public's support, but the public is just not there with them yet. And on this channel specifically, there's a lot of people that were just outraged. So I took a list of questions from the audience that the questions that kept coming up over and over again. So I'm going to ask you these questions that they want to know. So it's being reported that the landlord is going to be deposed. Is that true?
No, I'm not deposing the landlord because he provided me, he provided me documents, and he's a really nice guy, and he didn't hire Erika's lawyer who's representing the other witnesses. So he's a busy lawyer. His wife is really nice. I just didn't need to depose him right now. He was completely cooperative. And now I have a full understanding of Erika's lease.
Okay. What about the divorce attorney?
The divorce attorney, who I have other cases with, he's provided all the documents, except for some of the originating wires as to how he's gotten paid, because Erika has tried to shield who's paying her lawyers. But
she tried.
Yeah, she won't. She has a bundle of. She has an access to cash, but won't let me know how she's getting it. So, and so that's been an area that I'm sort of probing, because I don't know if this is someone holding money for her or other accounts that she doesn't want me to see, or just someone that doesn't want to be involved. But then I would wonder, why are they paying your bills? So we're talking $500,000 to $600,000 at this point. I mean, you know, you're a very smart woman, Sharrell, but I don't think there's people lined up in front of your house that are going to float you $500,000 to $600,000, is there, that you're not involved with? Okay, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm not saying there is somebody. I mean, we can't get confirmation yet, but we will. So the issue really is now is that we're looking into those expenses, and then I don't want to bother her divorce attorney to basically find out things that were basically relevant and apparent to me in a lot of the emails he wrote. I don't need to say, did you send this email? I kind of understand now how the divorce started, what Tom was doing, you know, why I have doubts about Tom, because he had plenty of time to blow Erika's phone up and other things, you know, and call a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then I also, the accountant has hemmed and hawed whether he's actually going to do her tax returns. He's just her business manager, the same one Lisa Renna uses. And what some people need to realize is this is not a theatrical manager. Most people don't want you using the same accountant or business manager because people like to keep their money private. Yeah. It's not common that celebrities switch business managers or kind of use the same ones. But I will also confirm Lisa Renna referred Erika at the beginning of the year to this business manager. But I don't want to depose him yet until I know if he's going to do her taxes, because that's really that's the sort of data that I want to know about. I already got now a big sort of picture of how she earns a living and all those things. So I'm kind of done with that. I'm now focusing on the $25 million. That's something I don't need to talk to Erika about. I could talk to American Express and a bunch of other vendors that you'll be able to see shortly.
Wow. I have to back up a little bit because I was so shocked that Tom wasn't at the living facilities. If he were at a living care facility, how would he pay for that? Do you know?
Well, he has Social Security. A lot of these places just take all your money. Let's say he has a pension. I don't think he does, but he for sure has Social Security. So they take your Social Security. Sometimes they get state subsidies, but I don't think he's living there. So what does it matter? I mean, the rooms were kind of small. It just doesn't look like Tom Girardi material. Like, it was hard for me to believe that Tom Girardi would live. Now, this is a nice place. Don't get me wrong. It's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
the people are nice, by the way. The rooms are clean. But like I'm saying, you don't go from the glam to Burbank in a small little room. It just doesn't make any sense. It never made any sense. So that's why I think his PR people were responding to my chronic criticism that until he suffers with a physical relocation, none of it is believable.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's so true. So I'm under the impression that the case against Erika is a civil lawsuit. A lot of people want to know, is it civil, and can the civil get turned into a criminal? For some reason, people they feel like she should pay.
I mean, I'm not interested in any criminal because then she may not provide testimony, but I don't need her testimony. It's really sort of rookie 101 to expect the target to cooperate and tell you, oh, here's where all my money is. I mean, I usually like to go after third-party custodians and other cooperating people, but my action is simply a direct action at this point against her for the receipt of over $25 million of expenses that were paid by the law firm, which she enjoyed the tax benefits directly by paying little or no taxes for many years. The firm lowered its income. It was a community property law firm. It lowered its income by deducting the expenses and then having the credit benefit of showing this large $25 million receivable, which they used presumably for credit and loans, etc. So she signed all the tax returns. I mean, this theory that, well, she didn't know what Tom was doing. I mean, you don't need to be a legal analyst to figure out if you keep signing tax returns, the government doesn't care that you don't read them. You don't have to read anything, but if you're signing it, you're responsible for it. And the company that got all the money was just Erika's company. There was no owner. Tom Girardi didn't own that company. She was the manager and the sole member, and it was a manager-membered entity for over a decade. So you got to stop making Erika to be some sort of dummy, quote, housewife. She's not a dummy. She understands money and she understands what she signed. And you don't need to have a college degree that if you sign a tax return under penalty of perjury, you're saying that it's true. You don't need to go to college to know right from wrong and how to tell the truth. Okay, that's a mature person like her understands these things.
Exactly. I totally agree. So on the show, a lot of the women, well, specifically Sutton, they're worried about their reputation because they know it's a bad look because of the victims. They're saying like, it's what he did was terrible. Will the cast be deposed? I know I heard rumors about Lisa, but is anyone from the show going to get deposed?
Well, we served a litigation hold letter for the outtakes on Bravo's production company, so we can review those tapes. But again, this is a fluid investigation, and I've been able to isolate to the penny how the receivable was portrayed on the books of the debtor. And there's nothing, I mean, there's an expression in law, you go for the low-hanging fruit. If I have Erika signing the charge slips and all the glam is being paid for by the law firm, and that's totally improper, why do I need to start going off on a tangent and then asking Lisa Rinna, why do you think Erika did nothing wrong? What did she tell you? I mean, I could do that, but I could also have Lisa Rinna to sign a declaration that she was just talking for TV. So I'm going to focus on the 25 million because that's a real number and that's a real benefit. And I believe she owes that money. And I don't need to prove that she knew she was getting victim money. I don't need to prove knowledge. I just need to prove, was there value for the debt on the books? And it's by a preponderance of the evidence. And she needs to know that she's going to pay something, not 25 million, but she said that the victims come first. Well, the estate needs to come first. She's got to pay some of that money back. If the position is you just get to keep 25 million because you say you didn't know what your dementia husband was doing, that's not going to fly. Yeah. It's not going to fly in court. It's not going to fly in the court of public opinion. And it's certainly not going to fly with my client. And so that's why we're moving forward. with the amended complaint. It's all going to be laid out there. It's a well-drafted, thorough document, and we expect her to basically come to Jesus and realize that you're going to have to pay some money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not realistic to say my husband's law firm gave me 25 million, 180 grand a month of firm money for my glam, and I don't have to pay any money back. Now that it's come out that basically all these clients didn't get their settlement payments, all these lawyers didn't get their referrals fees, all these vendors didn't get paid. It's just not going to fly that Erika gets to walk away with $25 million. That number is real. That's a real number.
I mean, legally, you can put her on the hook for 25 million, but most people are concerned about the victims. Is there a chance that they won't see any money?
No, I think the victims are going to see some money because there's settlements that are being settled, and they got a fantastic trustee. Alyssa Miller just works night and day. I mean, I don't think they anticipate. Sometimes, you know, debtors get lucky. They get a trustee that is lazy. This is not, they got the wrong group. They got the hardest working trustee. And I'm saying that with really sincerity. There's another good one in Orange County. I won't mention his name, that worked very hard on a contempt case we did together, but that case is over. But Alyssa Miller really works like, I mean, she works like there's nobody I've ever seen someone work. And then you have her current counsel that's working the case with her, and they work morning, noon, and night. And then, of course, you have her special litigation counsel that was the subject of numerous motions to disqualify him. And you know who that is. And he works really hard, and he didn't like probably when he was going to be disqualified for just informing people of what was going on and for having coming on shows. So that's why I think their strategy has been a disaster by attacking all the lawyers and all the people when you just make lawyers work harder. I mean, you know, there's no reason to try to do that. But I get along with her lawyer really well. We make stipulations all the time, professional courtesy. There's nothing personal, but I mean, I think the benefactor was directing him to try to get rid of me because he didn't want me focusing on his or her money or this source of money. And I said, it's never going to fly. And the judge wrote in his opinion, this just looks like an attempt to interfere with the investigation, denying her second motion for reconsideration.
Congratulations on that win, by the way. They tried really hard.
Really hard. And maybe waste a lot of time and money, you know, and stress. Because what I've learned throughout my life, Sharrell, when you gaslight people and say, oh, they did something wrong, like over and over again, I'm thinking all I'm doing is telling the truth and talking to the people.
Right.
Why is that wrong?
I know.
How is telling the truth about a public case somehow unethical? It's not. But, you know, you pinch yourself. What am I doing different in this case than I do in any other high profile case I've been involved with? Nothing. I get the facts out. These are just facts. I'm not offering my opinion on anything.
Exactly. I mean,
I was on your show before I was appointed. I'll be on your show after I was appointed. I mean, you need a lawyer to break down the Girardi fraud. He committed a fraud. So it needs to be exposed by someone that sees it. Otherwise, that's how he got away with it for so long, because everybody was afraid. And then they would attack the lawyers. His wife did the same thing. She started attacking the lawyers. That's what Girardi did in every case. If you complained about the money, I have files in my office. They would write him a letter saying, you know, where's this client's money? He'd say, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to report you. I'm going to go after you. I'm Thomas Girardi. Viciously. That was his MO. And she tried the same thing. But, I mean, I've been down this road before, and Erika, and no matter how much money people give her, is not going to intimidate me.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. And, you know, there's victims involved here. We got to always remember the victims, which is really making the public upset because it feels like that her or Tom are not worried about the victims. So here comes an audience question. If Erika wanted to raise funds for the victim, is there anything legally stopping her from doing that?
Not at all. That's why I don't understand why she doesn't do that.
Another audience question: is there a total number owed by the victims? Because we just hear that they all owe all this money to victims, but is there a ballpark figure or a number how much money he owes in total?
Well, yeah. The trustee filed schedules yesterday showing $101 million in
Ooh.
claims, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, there's some claims, like some of the petitioning creditors' claims, they don't even have the original people that were involved. They don't even have an amount on their claim because those claims could be challenged. But I think that a lot of those claims will be whittled down. But the former clients, I don't think are going to get whittled down that had their settlement money taken.
So a lot of people don't believe that Tom has dementia. Will he be retested?
No, I don't think so, because there's a probate order appointing a permanent conservator. If they indicted him in like a different jurisdiction, like in federal court, it's possible a federal court may order a physical exam and test, but it's gonna be hard. Most people don't have the sort of the will to basically give up everything and lose it all. A lot of people sometimes try to fight, or they have a different approach, like Bernie Madoff did. You know, he just pled guilty and died in prison. But Girardi came up with a potentially creative way to slow this down, which he just has run with, or he's really has dementia. We don't know. I doubt it.
If he does have dementia, it's a slow progressing disease. This started a long, long time ago. Will that clear him of everything?
Well, he'll never get cleared. The problem is you can't be criminally charged or civilly charged if you can't interact with your lawyer. That's the problem. In criminal, you have to understand the charges against you. They'll be suspended pending you getting better. In civil, you can't sue him civilly because there's a state court conservator. You have to sue the conservator estate, and there's no money in the estate. He's already in bankruptcy, so you can't. There's nothing to sue. So it's just a question of. It really deals more with criminal. It's not. We don't put people on trial in this country that don't know why they're on trial, because then they can't participate in their defense. Like a great example is Michael Avenatti, a real crooked attorney, did a great job representing himself last week in federal court, and the federal government forgot to give him his data files, and the judge granted a mistrial. So, but it was a good example of the defendant knew what the government should have done, and he participated in his defense. And we give everybody a chance to participate in the defense, and that's why we have such a great country. Because even though the judge knew these missing data files weren't going to return money to the clients, the process got mixed up. Just like in Cosby, the process got mixed up. You know, the Supreme Court reversed in that case in Pennsylvania because the prosecutor promised one thing and the next prosecutor did another. So process is probably more important than guilt or innocence sometimes, because we can't have a crooked system where everybody then questions the process. And if the government doesn't know how to follow the rules, that's worse than the defendant getting convicted because the government cheated. I mean, we have enough innocent people in this country in jail. We need the process to be protected at all costs. So in this case, we're doing a civil case and we're just filing a civil lawsuit. So we are not as worried about process. But for Tom Girardi, it's more complicated.
Speaking of Avenatti, a lot of people had questions about that, and we don't really cover that. But since you brought him up, does a mistrial mean it's all over now, or they go back?
It's called a defense-invited mistrial. A lot of people don't realize that. The judge was specific to find that there was no intentional misconduct on the part of the government. Without getting into the weeds in this, it's a really simple issue. When you search a lawyer's computer, you have to get what's called a privilege team. So prosecutors rarely go out and hire retired judges or me or somebody to go look at the lawyer's stuff, and then whatever we find that's relevant, that's not privileged, we give to the prosecution team. There's called a taint team or a privilege team, and then the prosecution team. The best example that's going on right now is Rudy Giuliani, the guy that used to represent the president. They're searching his phones in New York. Now, the judge didn't want to rely on what's called a privilege team, so she appointed a retired judge to do it. So it'd be a little bit more fair, and the court always has the right to do that. But in California, they just relied on basically other attorneys in the same prosecution office, which it's come back to bite them, because when they didn't turn over this tabs data file and the QuickBooks file, what happened is the judge is like, well, it's the same office. You can't fault Mr. Avenatti for not getting his materials, so I'm going to grant a mistrial. And that's it. But now they're going to retry him again in October. It's a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. All right, Ronald, I promised you I wouldn't keep you here long and take up too much more of your time, but I wanted to say a lot of people in the audience are asking me to thank you for what you're doing. We really feel appreciative, because we would have been in the dark, or they would have sugarcoated it and glossed over it on the show. And you're just bringing everything to light. And I'm so glad that you're still on the case. I mean, because this is huge. And today, what you found today for the 25 million is huge.
Yeah, we can discuss the complaint once it's publicly filed, but I'm appreciative that you and Freddie always had me on before I became more personally involved. Sometimes it's more fun not being personally involved because you don't get attacked as much. The sort of the insults by the target, they've kind of dissipated now. But I think that at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that the truth is there, the evidence is there, and I'm not tired, and I have plenty of resources to keep going forward. But everyone just has to realize that she's not coughing it up on a silver platter. It's more like I have to pry open wood on the floor and dive into the dungeon and keep loading stuff up the basement stairs. It's not so simple. However, I think because of that court's ruling and the fact that I've tried to make it clear that it's just wasting her money. If we're going to spend all this money on legal fees, let's give it to the victims and stop trying to fight the inevitable production. Because, you know, whoever's paying for her stuff or wherever this money's coming from, it's not privileged. It's not a secret. I mean, I'm going to find out. If the person doesn't want to be disclosed, I'll tell you right now, Sharrell, I'll never disclose him if he wants to settle and help out. I'm not bashful. I'll get money for the estate from whoever wants to pay, but we'll see how it works out. I mean, right now it's been a great process because so many people in this country have been fascinated with the legal proceedings and have asked me great questions all the time. And people on YouTube like yourself have this format that the average person doesn't have to wait for the news, doesn't have to have a TV, doesn't have to have it filtered by some announcer or talking head that doesn't shut up. They can actually talk to the real people that are doing the work. And that's why I made a decision when they were trying to get rid of me just for talking the truth to the people. I said, you know what? If I'm going to get knocked off a case for simply telling the truth about the case I'm on, then I don't want to be on that case. Then I'll just go back. I'll be on your show and I'll talk 1,000 times more because I'm not even going to be on the case more. But fortunately, there is justice, and the court is not swayed by nonsense. And just like the judge in Avenatti, who probably wasn't happy to cancel a jury trial 19 days in, most of these judges rule based on fairness. And if you're trying to attack a lawyer just because he's exercising his lawful First Amendment activities and telling the public about a publicly filed case and a case that everyone's following, that you're going to try to shut him up or her up, a judge isn't going to tolerate that. I mean, that's not America. I mean, we have freedom of speech, and especially on public issues. And so I felt that that's something that was more important to me than my notoriety or prestige. And that's why in my papers, I took a position that was all or nothing. I mean, I wasn't, and even my own legal team that I hired, I had the best ethics people and the best lawyers, said, why don't we try to take the easy way out and lay off the Twitter? And I said, no, that's not me. Why am I going to be punished for simply telling the truth? I didn't go become a lawyer to get intimidated, and some non-scripted actress and her benefactor is not going to shut me up. So I figured if I get closed out, then great. If not, I'm going to move forward. And that's where we are today. Now, all that is behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. And now I'm focused on one narrow issue. And that is how much of that $25 million that you were given, which obviously came from client revenues, are you going to return to this estate? It's a very simple question. And the more resistance I get, the harder I'm going to push.
Thank you. Just thank you. That's all I can say. And don't listen to the critics. I've heard some crazy things about that you're laying your entire case on Twitter. That's not true at all. You're a very brilliant attorney. I'm sure there's much more to this case that meets the eye. And
it is a good point you raised. I mean, I get people say, I've never seen an attorney talk about a case. And I'm thinking, well, maybe you're not in Los Angeles or DC I don't know. Sharrell, does everybody remember the OJ case?
I know.
Televised. Lawyers have been talking about cases for 40 years. Yeah. It's not like lawyers talk about well-known cases, because I just didn't go, when I'm on a case, it's not just about that case. It's also about interaction with the public. Now, a lot of people say, well, I've never seen a lawyer talk about a case on Twitter, but a lot of lawyers don't know how to use Twitter.
Exactly.
Okay, so they don't know how to go on. They're not articulate. They can't go on a show like yours and advocate their positions. They don't know where the lines are, so they just take the position, oh, I'm not going to talk about my case. Well, they forgot that you and I were talking about this and had people very interested before I got appointed. So why do I have to change my goals simply because I got hired to do one case? I don't only talk about that case. I talk about a lot of different topics. Just today, I posted the 130-page opinion of Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, who were recommended for suspension and possible disbarment and sanctions by a judge in Detroit who was furious. They tried to say the election was rigged. These are important issues. And when lawyers go off the deep end, it takes another lawyer to analyze. The public was scared for many months. I had people in my own family say, I don't want to talk about the election until January, because they actually believed these lawyers when they were making these election claims. And you can make claims as a lawyer, but as I said, you have to tell the truth. You can't just start making crazy claims that have no basis in fact. That you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to misrepresent facts to the public. And so these issues are all important. And I didn't expect any of the readers to read the 130-page opinion. So I just threw it out there and threw out a couple highlights so everybody would know, hey, this is interesting. And then if they're out, they'll kind of understand who these lawyers are. Because at the time, they were, you had the Senate of the United States of America standing by these lawyers. Half the Senate was thinking this was legitimate. Yep. So I knew as a lawyer, I thought it was legitimate, by the way, Sharrell, until I heard the first argument by Rudy Giuliani, someone who I actually do think is a good lawyer, but just got carried away in this case. And when I heard his argument in front of a Pennsylvania judge, I started tweeting, oh, this is all for a political theater, because he wasn't arguing any facts. But people listening may have thought it was real. And I kept saying, no, this is fantasy land. And then I said, he better be careful, because another judge may not be as nice as the Pennsylvania judge. He went to Michigan. She was very unhappy, that judge, because she didn't want her time wasted. And she took action in the city of Detroit actually sought legal fees against these lawyers, and they won today on a very lengthy opinion. So these are all important things for Americans to sort of understand if they like it, and if they don't want to hear about it anymore, then they just change the channel. But that's why I like Twitter, because I could throw things out there. People can quickly read them, and if they like it, they can click on the link. I always support everything I say, as you know, with documents.
Yep.
If they want to read it, and then we try to respond to people's questions when they ask us, so they could get more educated. And I don't want anybody to ever get defrauded by a lawyer again. So when money's coming into the account on a settlement, if your lawyer's not wiring you your portion of the fee, it's time to start calling another lawyer and get a second opinion. Something's wrong. The Avenatti trial showed us that when the money came in, it went in 40 different directions, except to the client. So people need to know lawyers can't touch your settlement money, and they need to distribute it to you quickly. When they start talking about being your investment advisor and they want to invest your money, you need to run. That's the lawyer's not acting appropriate. It's no different than going to a doctor and them touching you in a weird way. Everybody knows what a doctor's doing during an exam. If the doctor does something that's weird, then that's atypical. It's the same thing with a lawyer and their money. The lawyer shouldn't be talking to you about their money or doing anything that what I would call is colloquial. Your lawyer's not your friend. They're there to get a job done with a lot of rules that govern their conduct with you. And that's what a lawyer is supposed to do for you, and not be emotionally tethered to you. And if you get a big settlement, they need to push it right out to you, and that's it. Not get into your business advice. And
that reminds me of Joseph Rugamez. That's what Tom did to Joseph. It's
right. And then he even said that the mediator suggested it. I mean, right then I feel sorry for the Rugamez, because had any other person heard this crazy story about the lawyer investing your money, they would have said, you're not investing a penny of my money. And Avenatti wouldn't even tell him there was a settlement. I mean, that's why it's such a joke. Avenatti is trying to say, oh, well, I had some more costs that the government kept from me. Well, what about you need to tell your client you had a settlement? And people have a short memory. That's why he got convicted for extortion with the Nike case, because he never told the coach in that case that he was trying to get a $25 million payout for himself. And the coach thought he was hiring him to do a $1.5 million wrongful termination settlement. So this is why people need to know what's going on.
Someone just donated a $200 super chat, and they wanted to tell you thank you and greetings from Australia. People really appreciate what you do. They really do.
Oh, well, Australia, I'll leave you with one comment about Australia. We're lucky to live here, because in Australia, the government has locked down the population basically because of COVID restrictions. And it's sad for those people. They're stuck, and I'm sure a lot are unhappy, but it just goes to show you how important it is to have a constitution that is meaningful, and lawyers that aren't intimidated by speaking their mind. And I agree with you, but that's very nice of him. And hopefully we'll be on the show again. And
definitely. I appreciate everything you do. Like I said, the audience appreciates it. Don't listen to the naysayers. They're people that have something wrong with them. So we appreciate it. I can't wait to have you back. Thank you for dropping by. Oh my God, Ronald, you're the best. Love you to death.
Okay. Love you guys too. And I miss Freddie. Can't wait to see him again.
You know what? I'll have Freddie on the next one since you miss him so much.
I do miss him. All right.
You miss him? We'll do that.
He's a great guy. When if I'm up at 2 a.m, Freddie's always up because he's in the UK.
That's Freddie. Isn't that Freddie?
Yeah, he's a good guy. You have good people here. You guys are good people.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Take care.
All right, bye.
Okay, that was a really great interview. I'm so shocked about Tom not being at the retirement home. Oh my gosh. It just validates what we were saying yesterday, guys. Don't trust anything the Girardis say. It has to be checked out at all times. I almost fell off my chair when he said that. Okay, so listen, a lot of you are going to watch this on the replay, even though we had almost 2,000 people in the room. A lot of you have to catch it on the replay because this was the only time I could schedule it, and it is at the same time that the show is going. I promise I won't do that again when I bring him back. Let me know your thoughts. And also, there was a lot of super chats. I wanted to thank you guys all for the super chats, but I don't put them on the screen when he's talking because it's a distraction to him. But I really appreciate them from the bottom of my heart. And I let him know how you feel. And I included some of the super chat questions in the questions today. So I did get you guys. Wow. Every time he's on, he just brings explosive news. If Erika showed any signs or Tom in the victims, we might trust them more. But right now, we are all on the same page. Those are some crooks. Okay, allegedly, I'll say that. All right, you guys, thank you for joining this super chat. This video, I really appreciate it. We will have him back. I mean, I thought it was good enough just to read his tweets, but you guys want him to explain things in the flesh, so we're bringing him back. I know you guys used to come on before a lot, and I thought, well, maybe we'll just keep up with the Twitter account. No, you guys are right. It's not the same. We got to have him talk about it, so he'll be back. Again, thank you for the super chats. You don't have to support the channel, and you do, so I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I try to get as many questions in as I can. If you have any more questions, just send them to the hotline, and we'll take them and incorporate them in the questions that we ask him. Also, if you haven't signed up for the hotline yet, don't forget to do that. It gets you in touch with what we're saying with us right away. Also, if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do that. And also, last request, don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. It really helps this video. Until next time, see you guys soon. Bye for now.